Hello and welcome to Playing with Power podcast, a podcast where we talk all about all things cedh, edh, and Magic the Gathering. I'm your host, Ashani, aka Jamaican Dude, and today we have fantastic, superb, awesome, and absolutely stunning humans with me today. Our guest, Mikey Hollahan and Zane Z Rob from Eminence MTG. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing swell.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Work's
Can't
been pretty
complain.
busy, so got some long days, but glad I can just sit back, relax, talk with some wonderful people.
Absolutely. Calling me wonderful is pretty great, but we try to do good in the world. But before we get started, we need to talk about TC Rockets. TC Rockets has one of the largest selection of toys, comics, and games in San Diego, with thousands of MTG cards being added to their online store every morning. You never know what deals you will find at tcrockets.com. You can also keep up with the game by tuning in to their Twitch streams every Tuesday and Friday for live paper magic and fuel up and check out TC Rockets today. Looking to pick up some fun cedh merch that also support our channel? Check out our store. We have variety of clothing design and even Dragon Shield Playing with Power logo sleeves. Check out the podcast description for more info. And our Patreon shout out for this episode is Phoenix. Well, hello Phoenix. Hope you're having a great day.
I think I'm supposed to
But
get lunch with that
we're
guy.
oh okay. All right.
Staying out here just
Knows
flexing, like, I
Phoenix.
know people. That's neat.
All right. I mean, that's good. I don't know Phoenix, and hopefully one day we'll get lunch together. I don't see this happening, but we can hope. But yes, we're here to talk about the new kids on the block, the new kids on the tournament scene, Eminence MTG. The two OGs, I assume, is who I'm talking to today.
That is
OGs, the
true.
founders, the
Yep.
founders of Eminence. So for the people listening that don't know who or what is Eminence MTG, give me a breakdown.
Eminence is just a tournament organization group that focuses on competitive Elder Dragon Highlander events currently. There might be plans in the future to expand, but right now we're just trying to do both in-person and webcam tournaments to just give commander players more chances to test their skills, really just give them an outlet because we know, granted, it all depends what area of the country that you're in or actually area of the world. A lot of places don't have a lot of good, strong support for commander, and something that Zane specifically noticed is that there wasn't really any good pairing software or really any good way to run tournaments. So him and I got together. He has the tech skills. I have a lot of tournament organization experience from past Magic events. I was also pretty heavily involved in the TO Smash scene back when I was in Virginia. So we just kind of put our heads together and we were able to just fix a lot of the problems that we thought existed. And now we're trying to just make it so more people are able to run events so everyone can compete and really, test either their pet deck or, tune a list to wherever they think is the best for the format and just like have a good time. Like we like bringing people together, and now we're just trying to get our software in the hands of as many people as possible.
Yeah, we're just trying to throw
Absolutely.
those good commander events, Just come, play, compete, hang out, and all that good stuff.
The hanging out part is pretty good. I am also part of um, the team. I was picked up at the doorstep, and it's been great. Pun City 2 was great. Got to meet a lot of people. Even if you're bad at Magic, you can still come hang out with a bunch of people that you've been playing with for years on Discord. Put a face to that name if need be. All right, so start with Zane. Tell me how Eminence came to be.
Well, at least from my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
coming out of COVID, the pandemic, there used to be a lot of online events. So we had those webcam events like the Playing with Power had a few webcam events. There was like the Founders Cup and whatnot. And then there was like those cockatrice events as well with Oktober and whatnot. Um, they were okay, Like I think it was just like I didn't think there's any major complaints on that end. It was just okay because that was the medium we had to play in. You can go outside and see people. Um, I mean, how I came into making Eminence was actually after Marchesa in March of this year, which was like the first in-person cedh tournament in a while that wasn't like Tier 1 con or something in Europe, which is kind of accessible for those of the people here
I think
in
it
the
was the first
States.
one in the states in general because like DDM
Yeah,
had I was only I don't
that
remember
was
the exact number, but
pre-pandemic.
and
Yeah.
it was pre-pandemic. It was only 30 to 40 people. Marchesa was like 100 some. I forgot the exact number once again, but it was around 100, which triple the size of
Yeah.
it
It's
was.
about 100. Yeah. So going there and then participating in that, it just felt like another Discord event to me that I had already been playing in online. So I messaged Mikey and I was like, "Hey, like, I think a lot of the stuff that's been established right now in the scene over the past 2 years has been kind of online based and whatnot, and I don't really like that. I don't want that to stick around. I think I can make like a better software for this type of thing. I think we can run this better. So if you ever want to do this, like I'm down." Which I think Mikey thought I was joking, so he didn't really hit me up. he thought I was just like upset that I scrubbed out at Marchesa or something and was like complaining. I don't know.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure like how genuine it was because it was like he gave the offer and I just knew like both him and I were busy, and then it took me like another I think it might have been like 2 or 3 weeks. And I was like, "Were you serious?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, time to hit the ground running," and that's when we really started to like put the necessary steps in. I recruited our whole team, got Mike Bonney, who's our director, on board, who honestly is the backbone of Eminence. Like he just does so much stuff, even if people don't realize it. He's been fantastic. And then I looped you in
Yeah,
to get casters, Saturday. That's where it started. Though. It really just started with like Zane and I. Then we got Bonnie in, and then once Bonnie became committed, it was like, oh wow, we actually have something great here that we can really build out. And now we've been around for 5 months around, and we already have 2 major events under our belts, and we have Silicon Dynasty coming up in 3 months or so, 2.5.
exactly.
Yeah, like you guys enter the webcam scene pairing with a pretty big content creator playing with power, and I think I I believe I haven't heard any complaints on the Twitterverse yet, but um
They're always a good sign
that
when
is
the Bird app isn't blowing up over something.
when the
So
Bird app isn't blowing up with negativity, you've done something well.
yeah,
And I believe I haven't seen any complaints. So I think the Mox Masters series is a success. And I believe the partnership will continue to grow into something huge and even better. So what is the future? What is the future of Eminence and TG?
just more big events. That's we've only been around for a few months, and the fact that we're able to expand the amount that we have, like our team has gotten bigger. We have a lot of connections now. We're starting to reach out to. Wait, we already have a pretty strong presence in the northeast screen. That's where Mike Bonney and I are from, and obviously we're 2 people who are very involved with Eminence. So we have a lot of connections with LGSs out here. But now we're starting to get some connections over on the West Coast. There's been a lot of discourse recently about how those players feel like they've been kind of shunned from the community for one reason or another. We don't need to get into the politics of it there, but we noticed that there was clearly a gap. So we are taking Silicon Dynasty as a really good opportunity to start reaching out to all those people, form some relationships. We're going to try to get a few of the local vendors at the event. So for people who weren't at Punt City, we had 4 vendors who were there who were selling cards throughout the tournament. So if you needed something like last minute, a bunch of people, when they got their prize money, they quickly gave it right back to the vendors and things like that.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to foster more relationships, and that's the main goal for Eminence. We want to be a nationally recognized organization. We want to be able to have events throughout the country, and we have some big plans for nationals. Basically, we want to have all these individual events, and then we want them to bottle up into a larger event near the end of the year. And kind of what our goal is basically to kind of be a command fest where
Ooh.
we have like a large tournament as the focus, but it's more of just a celebration of Commander. Bit far away from that, but that's why we need more events. We need to pocket some more money, and then we can start to get a space where it could be big enough for that type of experience. So right now, we're just doing our best. We have a lot of merch. Mike Bonney has been designing a bunch of random T-shirts, play mats, hats. We're just trying to get our brand recognition out there because we are new, but we want people to know that even if we're new, we're here to stay, and we've already made a very large impact on the community, in my opinion, with the events that we're running, and the ubiquity of our software once it becomes fully available, which will just make it so that there's even more tournaments happening. So we're just trying to have a positive impact on the community. The big thing that Mike always likes to lecture to us, or not lecture, but emphasize for the Eminence team, as both of you have seen, is affordability, accessibility, and like respect. So we want to watch out for our players. We want all of our events to be affordable. Like we do our best to have good room blocks. We have the best to keep our ticket price fairly low. And we just want to have Commander events be accessible for anyone who wants to go to them. And that's another reason why we're trying to hop around the country. So obviously, Philadelphia, it's kind of hard for someone from San Jose to get to, or, insert California City. But it's really easy for people from Boston, New York, DC, and that was a majority of the people we saw at the tournament. So now we're trying to go West Coast to get that. We're trying to go south when we have the event in Atlanta called the Cookout, which I believe is in July. And then Nationals, the plan is to have it somewhere in the Midwest. We're not certain on city yet, but somewhere in the Midwest.
All right. Well, awesome. Need people to go support the Silicon Dynasty in January. Definitely go support everyone who's on the west side. I know a few players there. I don't think I'll be at that one. I'm a Kentuckian, so it's a ton of a trip for me, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what's in the card.
That's why we have
But
Atlanta coming up, right?
exactly. Definitely be Atlanta, definitely be a Philly, but the other side of the country is a tad. But as you said, we're Eminence FTG is bouncing around to make sure all EDH players are happy and have a way to compete. Um, so with more tournament magic popping up, I believe there's a lot of tournaments that start happening like at the start of the year. Do you believe this has changed the meta um of cedh or edh at the beginning a few months ago? I know there was this term being thrown around as TEDH. Do you believe that's a thing, or does people like to put labels on it?
I'll let Zane talk a little bit more about how the meta's changed because he actually competes in events. I just try to run things. Personally,
Hmm.
I hate the term TEDH. I also hate the term
Same here.
CEDH. It's all just Commander, right? Like
Yep.
we're playing
So yeah,
Commander,
I
and then
agree.
CEDH is playing Commander at the highest level. Like I hate all these stupid numbers, or not numbers, all these different acronyms that people use. It's at the end of the day, we're playing the same game. It's not like there's a different rule set. Like I guess you could argue tournament Commander has a time limit, but like I don't care. It's not like you have modern and then tournament modern because it has a time limit. It's just modern.
Right.
And I
Right.
see all these distinctions. Like people try to sound smart. They try to be like. It just makes the community very exclusive, in my opinion. And I think this is a problem CDH has had forever. Is just that it's been inherently exclusive.
Yeah,
And Eminence,
exclusionary.
we don't want to be viewed as that. We just want it to be known as a Commander organization. We're running Commander events. Naturally, if you're playing in a tournament, you're trying to play the best deck. You're trying to win. So that gets these people who are in CEDH into it. But like, we just want to be marketed as Commander, and that's what we're trying to promote.
Yeah, Commander EDH. We're just Elder Dragon Highlander. That is what we want. Okay, awesome. All right, Zane, you're the competitor and also organizer, helping the organizer.
He
Well,
sees both.
what's your take?
What's my
Both
take
sides of it.
on the
Yeah,
meta and
of
whatnot? Yeah,
of the
sure.
meta. Do you think the meta has changed since more tournaments has been popping up?
Yes, definitely. It's actually something I can personally track as well because we take all the deck lists from every single event and we make it available and whatnot. So actually, you can go look at it too. But
Mhm.
yeah, you'll see in the beginning of the year, it was a more disparate, varied amounts of decks. People were kind of just bringing what they've been playing or whatnot. Nothing really surprising going on there. But as more events have been happening, people they want to win. They want a top 16. They want to brag to their friends or whatever, win that prize money. And you see in the most recent top 16s in the past few tournaments, like Mox Masters or Punt City or the Chaos events, and I think you'll even see this in Oktoberfest coming up. You're seeing some of the same decks popping up in the top 16 over and over again. And I'm not just talking about like one guy on Tropical Malcolm. I'm talking like you're seeing 3 blue farm decks from pilots you've never heard of. You're seeing Najila show up pretty often, I think, on CEDH Guide, Ken's website. You can see that Najila has like the most tops of like any deck. You're seeing people bringing these decks more and more because they want to win. They want to win the event. They want to top the event. I think even like when I was looking at Punt City, um, when I recall the night before I was looking and I was like, wow, there's like 8 blue farm lists and like 7 Malcolm lists and whatever, and I was like, that's insane. A lot. I'm starting to see people who want to win just bring these decks, and then they're making appearances in the top 16. Um, so I think we'll start seeing some sort of convergence, at least at the top of the ladder. You'll see the occasional um, other deck like we just had in Mox Masters, like Tivit and Tim Halana and stuff, like make the top 4. That's going to happen, but you're gonna see. I don't want to say homogenization, but I'm going to say homogenization of some of the top decks.
Yeah, I fully agree with everything Zane's saying. Like, even you look at Mox Masters, I think there was like 3 blue farm decks. There was 2 Rog Sai. There was a few other Grixis piles. Like there was Armix Crom. There was Vile Smasher Malcolm, the Grixis Pirates
Malcolm.
list. Like you
Yeah.
saw a clear trend, and then I think there was also a Nagila list or two, and they're now on the more like Nas focused version, or not necessarily Nas focused, but like they have the Nas component, the Breach component, and then they also do the combat stuff. So you're really
Yeah.
just starting to see all these deck lists become more and more similar. And I'm a big proponent. Like I think 5 cards between 2 lists is a huge difference. But still, like the Grixis shell is the same for all these decks, and even Nagila, where you're playing a lot of other things. And we're definitely seeing these things come together now that people are just trying to win. I think when you look at the pool of, Mox Masters was 128 players, you're going to see a lot of random one-offs. And even in top 16, there was a few one-offs. Like that's just always going to happen because like player skill, being able to catch people off guard. Like no, I don't think anyone. You know this with Hulk. Like Hulk is a good strategy, but it also just kind of clowns on people because they don't understand how it works. And by the time they figure it out, it's too late because the Hulk is sacked. And it's like, oh, whoops. And those types of decks will always continue to do well, but it's cool to see now it's not a lot of these gimmicky decks, for lack of a better word, that made it to top 16. While they did, and Tivit won ultimately, and while I don't think that deck is very gimmicky, like it kind of fits in the similar niche where people don't really know what's going on.
Yeah,
You see a ton of Grixis lists.
I was even going to bring up Tivit because I'm very interested in seeing going forward into tournaments. Now we're seeing like a convergence of like, oh, it seems like Nas or Breach or whatever is the best thing to be doing in the format. I'm very interested in seeing going forward what type of decks people start bringing to counter these types of strategies. I think it's going to happen. I think Tivit was a good example of that. It can support cards like Grafdigger's Cage and Rest in Peace and whatnot to counter these strategies. And then what people's responses to those decks will be. Seeing if some sort of rock paper scissors type deal emerges.
So that kind of the question I was trying to lead to was: do you think like you're gonna like with all of this tournament happening, you're gonna start to see decks start to emerge, as you said, a bunch of Grixis core from Blue Farm to Najila to Malcolm, Grixis Malcolm, they started to emerge um, to the top of the ladder. So I'm like, we still know that there's still all these slower mid range stacks deck that's still entering the tournament. Like there was an Urza in the top 16, and also um, uh, we called my dear Hulk a gimmick deck, but there was two Hulk decks also in the top 16. So that was cool to see. But I'm just saying there's for all the people who are build their decks to prey on the end all strategy. Do you think maybe they need to go back to the drawing board with it because you I believe in the Swiss rounds, you normally see a lot of those decks in the Swiss, but they don't make it to the top 16. Is it because there's less copies of them, or maybe there's not a so-called um,
There's not a meta buster
a
deck.
a meta? There we go, a meta buster deck because there's no meta to bust, correct? Or
Right.
maybe is there a meta? Because we could say Tivit was a meta buster deck.
The way
I could
that
see Tivit as a meta buster deck, but a lot of these random decks people bring are not meta busters. I think iteration needs to occur for them to be able to counter these strategies. And then on the other side, playing Grixis and stuff, they need to be aware of what people are doing to stop them and update accordingly if they want to make it out of Swiss.
Correct.
to me
What do
the
you say,
big thing
Mikey?
is I just wish that Commander players got this stupid notion out of their head that the game is like rock paper scissors, where there's like mid range stacks and then turbo. and it's like stacks always beats turbo. Turbo can prey on mid range preys on stacks. I just think it's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially when these turbo decks are playing Grixis core or even Najeela. You're able to have that fast game plan and beat turbo for, in quotes, but you're playing blue. You have bounce spells. You have counter spells. Najeela just has combat to kill the stacks players because they're sitting there doing nothing, and you're just carrying sideways with Najeela and making land.
Hold on here.
No, I'm just saying I don't like this whole idea that like turbo gets beat by stacks because people are going to see like that. I get this answer all the time. It's like, oh, you're playing a turbo deck. You'll just never win the stacks matchup. And I'm just like, that's just not accurate. Like that's not how these games play out. I'm not saying that Grixis is unstoppable. It's just people think that they get a turn 1 rule of law and that just stops all these decks from doing things. But
it should be. But it should be accurate, Mikey. That is the cycle of the sun.
Yeah, I just don't think that cycle is accurate when you have to realize that these fast decks are running blue. So
I think the recent top 16s show that that's not accurate as well. To be honest.
Oh, come on. Let's I'm
not saying that other strategies are not playable. I just don't like this idea that, the meta's fast. I need to start playing stacks to beat turbo because I just don't think it's accurate. I think that turbo decks...
how do you beat turbo? Then tell us how to beat it. Do not give me the answer that the other turbo deck is how you beat the turbo deck.
You ask Wizards to print a breach level stacks piece, and then you put that in your deck.
Yeah, we need something as good as Breach that slows the game down, and then we might be able to do it. Because going fast just gives you options. Because it's like obviously I think like stacks can help slow these plans down. It's just once that one stacks piece or two stacks piece gets removed, it's just like a field day. And then you have Oracle Consult. Like Rule of Law stops Oracle Consult, sure, but like that still gets around like 3-ball for the most part, Thalia effects. It gets around Deafening Silence, and you can, if you have Tampack, you just do an end-step Tampack Oracle. It's just these turbo decks have so many tools at their disposal that they can skirt around a lot of this stuff. So I think ultimately,
but the mid-range deck has these same tools, Mikey.
Look,
I'm just saying I don't like the idea that like stacks beats turbo, mid-range beats stacks. Like I think mid-range decks are perfectly viable. I just don't want it to be viewed as rock paper scissors. Like you can do a mid-range plan, and you just need that comes down to mulligans and having some of these silver bullets, such as like Ian in his Tibet deck was running Grafdigger's Cage. Like I think that's the way you need to approach these things. It's just I don't like this ideology where stacks always beats turbo, mid-range always beats stacks. Like and then turbo beats mid-range or whatever. Like I just don't like this rock paper scissors or this cycle that people like to mention. I think mid-range is perfectly viable.
How should we think about it?
Look, I'll indulge you.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
So you can look at Ian's Tivit list. It wins the game, is my thing.
Right.
I find that a lot of these stacks lists, or slower lists, I guess, if you want to call them that, are... when I first started playing this format, it was told to me that if I'm going to play stacks, it's to slow the other people down like a turn or 2 or 3 so I can get my win con down and win. But I feel like somewhere along the way this got lost, and people were like, I just don't need to play any of that. I'm going to just try to beat everyone to death or something stupid like that. And they don't actually pack their deck with a actual combo or something to win the game and, end the game, kill all 3 players or whatnot.
Right.
I don't know when this happened exactly or why it happened. But I think those players need a wake-up call. Look at Ian's Tivit list if you want. I play Tivit as well. I talked to Ian a little bit about that deck before the tournament and whatnot. That deck wins the game. You have your 1-card win con with your commander in Time Sieve, your Oracle Consult. But, you can also put down the Grafdigger's Cage. You can put down a Cursed Totem. Personally, I was on Rest in Peace. I don't think Ian was. You put that down as well. Really slow down the game just to, disrupt your opponents with a piece or 2, and then just put your win on the stack and win. I think they're missing that latter part of it. They can disrupt the game, sure, and it's annoying, as I say. Like, I'm annoyed. Cool, you're slowing the game down and making me play more turns, but I'm still going to win. I never feel the threat that the other person is going to win from a lot of these decks. So I think that's what they need to be doing. They need to be winning the game as well as disrupting the game.
Yeah, and that's why it's when Noda works, because you put so much pressure on the table. But a lot of these other random decks where it's just like, haha, I play Rule of Law. You'll never beat me. It's like, you're just giving me time to sculpt my hand and find a way to get around this. So, and they just don't have an efficient way to close out, because how are you closing out through a Rule of Law other than combat?
Yeah, so the issue with it, I think, is that it's hard to slow down the game and also win. And that's kind of been the problem in multiplayer prison decks or stacks decks or mid range, whatever terminology you want to use. It's hard to slow down the game because if it depends on the pod variance. Mid range is a better deck with another mid range deck at the table because they thrive off each other. But if there's a three X Nulls deck and you're the only so-called stacks player at the table, you're just going to lose the game, right? And that's the thing. And because at the end of the day, I think a lot more people gravitate to the turbo life, or because winning on turn two seems so flashy, and you get to play whatever 20 minute turn and durdle yourself and make you feel well about it.
I feel
That's how
called
you want
out.
to play it. I mean, 20 minutes to concede is Zane's go to, but um you just want to durdle and get there and, oh well, I played my 20 minute turn and I passed. Well, if that's the case, I don't know. I really want, for me personally, I would like mid range to thrive. I don't know what that list is. I don't know where the list is. I keep saying that is Hulk. And Hulk is the only so-called hate bear strategy out there. Um, Urza is coming up. I also said Urza to me was the so-called best prison deck in the format. Winota is not a stack deck. I don't care who wants to fight me on this. It's not.
I agree with you
Yeah, it's an
100%.
aggro deck.
It's an aggro
It's
deck
an
that
aggro
plays
deck.
stacks by accident.
Correct.
Stacks pieces
It's a
synergize with its plan, so you play
with
them.
his plan.
Yeah.
It's not stacks. I don't care what you want to tell me about it. Oh, it plays Archon of Iberia. I don't care. It is the Archon is an enabler for the Winota. It's not stacks. It doesn't mold to stack pieces. It doesn't mold to a null rod. It doesn't do these things. It's an aggro deck. Winota is not in the category. But any other way, Blood Pod has seen its day. I think people have finally let that deck die. The Timna Tana shell has now become an Hulk shell or a Hermit Droid shell or what. But I think that's kind of the strategy that is out there. So, um, we went off on a tangent, but
That's all right. You
yeah,
know I love these
play
conversations.
play as the Eminence guys are saying, play Grixis core if you want to top 16. Um,
That's not
I
what I'm
want to
saying.
agree.
That's maybe what Mikey's saying. I'm just saying
That's what Mikey's
play
saying. Okay.
play to win the game. Put win cons on the stack. Like just win the game. That's all
Win
I'm
the
asking
game.
you to do.
Play faster and win the game. However you go about these things without cheating, please remember this.
Oh yeah, don't
Do
cheat.
not try to
That's
win the
not Gary
game.
Cash money.
But
Oh yeah, don't
yes,
cheat. If you cheat in an Eminence event, I will ban your account. We can do
Yeah,
that now. You will
you'll be
never play in another
blacklisted.
tourney again.
Yeah, you'll be blacklisted from everything, and then
yeah,
Chaos is my boy. I'll pass it along to them. You won't be able to play in their shit either.
yeah. It's cheaters. I believe if you cheat on a webcam or in person, I don't know. I haven't heard any cheaters being caught in person, but cheaters on webcam has been completely deleted from. I don't want to say the EDH scene because I am not in any casual EDH servers, but I believe they're at least deleted from the competitive discords server if you try to cheat in an EDH webcam tournament. So please, if winning the game by cheating, do not do that. But do attempt to win the game. That is what you can take away from this podcast. If you're going to pay money to win. So with that aspect of it, what would be the top 5 decks you should bring to a webcam or in-person tournament
I got
to
top 10 for
attempt?
you.
You got a top 10.
I have a
All
Yeah,
top
right,
and
10.
Zay and
give
I
me
have
the
worked
top
on this
10.
together, so this shares my opinions as
This
well.
is top
All right.
10 in order by Zane. Maybe I'll make a Moxfield bookmark with it too. Anyways,
Actually, before you do this, where we were talking about where we could find the data, the deck list for all these eminence so far. Where can we find this?
well, one, you can go to our Moxfield at our I think our Moxfield is like Eminence MTG. You can find lists there. We have bookmarks, but also if you actually go to a bracket page for a tournament, we make the deck list public after each event, so you can actually go in there. You can look at the top 16 lists. You can see who played them, what the pods were in the top 16 or in all the Swiss rounds, and you get look at all the pod compositions like, oh, this deck was in first seed against these following decks, and you can see all those deck lists card for card. It's something I always wanted in the scene, and I'm finally bringing it here, so very happy about that.
Absolutely love the plug. All right, continue, good sir.
Okay, yeah, now after that commercial break, I'm going to be giving you Zane's top 10 cedh decks.
Okay.
Number 1, Nagila, of course, just because I play it.
Yeah,
Number
bias,
2,
bias. Okay.
Rogsai, because I always lose to that deck, and I got to
So
put it at number 2.
hold on. So number one, let's start. I'm glad we put Rockstar number two. I think it should be number 10, but that's because I'm also biased. Um, which Najila list are we talking? Are we talking about the traditional Pongos list or the truth is what I see people are calling it?
I mean, obviously, I'm partial to the truth, but the reason I'm suggesting Najila as a list in general, I think it can play all the good win cons, your 5 color, and then you have that command zone beats plan slash combo plan as well. Um,
Okay.
I'm not going to get into play Pongo's list, play the stacks list, play whatever's list, play my list. But I mean, if you're playing 5 color, and remember I said you want to be putting the best win cons on the stack, please be on Breach. Please be on Nas. Like, play these cards. Be on Thoracle. That's the advantage of playing these colors. And then your commander also is like a clock and another combo piece. Just do that. If you're not on Breach, you're wrong. This is not the Nagila list that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Number one.
So
Because
Yeah.
indirectly, we're saying
Nagila just
playing
lets
the
you
truth.
pivot super well because it's like you can do the turn two Nos thing because you have all that mana and like enablers. You can also just slam an Nagila and then eventually find the Derevi Grim Hireling Druid's Repository insert combo Nagila combo piece. But like having the 5 colors and access to all those tutors lets you pivot super well. So for instance, you could get the Druid's Repository off your inline tutor or the Breach. Your intuition can set up Druid's Repository stuff or Breach stuff as well now too. So it's just you have so many options and you're able to pivot so well. I don't think any other deck has that level of options or pivotability in the format. Plus, you just have Najila that just can win games if I don't know is like 6 combats or something like that. It's just
Six
like you can get
combats,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, which is
I
not
will quote Charles here a little bit actually, because he told me a long time ago to play a deck that can beat the most amount of, I guess, board textures or board states, and I think that's Nagila. I can beat a lot of board states with a Nagila deck. Like, there's nothing that I
Mhm.
really feel bad at playing into. That's why it's
Okay.
my number one.
So indirectly, play the truth. Do not play stacks or dedicated punk. Not dedicated Nagila list. All right, continue, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, number two, Rogrex Silas.
Okay.
Mainly referencing Bryant Cook's The Epic Storms list here. Deck is very fast, but can play a little slower, put its advantage pieces down with like Ristic Study and whatnot, and kind of just you can just win. Having a 0 mana commander, just turn on a bunch of stuff, and just the sheer amount of mana you have in the deck to payoff ratio is just great. It's really hard to go wrong there. And obviously, you can play Breach, so it's good. Um,
Yeah.
Number three, I'm going to be putting a blue farm here. I find that when I play this deck, I'm actually not casting my commanders that often anymore, but the option is there for me to go in there, draw some cards, play the game a little slower if I feel like I have to, and then just drown everyone in advantage. Um, Number four is Winota. I think this is very powerful. I think it's proven itself to be very powerful in a lot of different tournaments. It's won or topped many events now.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's just an aggro deck. I'm not going to say this deck is skillless or anything because it's not. You need to be able to know what you're putting down with your window triggers. when to put the Winota down and whatnot. So yeah, number 4, Winota applies immense pressure to the table, actively forces me to mulligan differently because I'm playing against Winota. Number 5, and my number 5 and number 6 are kind of like similarly tied to my one and 2. Number 5, I'm going to put Icrom, so sans white, but you can also do Thrasios Vial. In fact, Thrasios Vial might be the superior one here. Um, this deck gets access to Culling Ritual, excellent card, and then you can do the regular Grixis stuff with access to some decent green pieces like Worldly Tutoring for Docksides or Veil of Summer, things like that. So it does powerful magic things, and then Thrasios or Crom, you can draw cards, albeit a little differently depending on which one you're playing. The other commander doesn't really matter. Ikra doesn't matter. Vial Smasher doesn't matter. Sorry, Greg. Number 6 here is Corvault. I think Corvault is able to do the Jun thing very well. It does it the best. It draws a lot of cards. Its combos are powerful. You just get Dockside. You can basically win the game. The rest of the meta would be shooting yourself in the foot by not playing Artifact Acceleration, so the Dockside's always going to be good here. Ashani, I know the Corvault is dear to your heart, so if you want to chime in here and just shill the deck, you can go ahead and do that.
No, absolutely. I think you did great. Put it in the top 10. I have no arguments here. Best best John deck out there. Not sure than the Dargo fans there, but Corval's fans on top. But no, I agree with it so far. Continue, sir.
At number 7, I have Kenrith. There's just a lot of different ways you can go with this deck. When I see a Kenrith across the table, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be playing against. Could be Hermit, could be Breach, could be a mid-range, could be Turbo. I don't know. 5 colors affords it a lot, and the commander just has a lot of words on it. So if you're able to get it out, it enables a lot. Also does some cool Dockside stuff, I guess. At number 8 here, I have Malcolm Plus. So really, I'm just talking about like Malcolm Vial or Malcolm Tana. Deck is good. You have the one card win con with the commander and Glinthorn Buccaneer, and just ways to get that out. Or you can try to win other ways if you're playing Grixis or like Niv Mizzet or any of those cards. Lots of ways this deck can go, but it's pretty consistent. Once you kind of understand how it works, it's pretty easy to beat, but I think it still belongs in the top 10 because other decks they can't beat it if it's able to do its thing. Number 9, I have Timna Thrasios. Really has fallen from when I first started playing CEDH when this was like the best deck. I think TNT is just a tad too slow these days, but it's still able to play some really good cards like you can put hate bears down and whatnot, kind of be more disruptive. I don't think the drawing cards with Thrasios and like putting things down and trying to draw cards with Timna until I can win is like a really valid strategy anymore. But it still can do its thing. It doesn't have red, which is a big problem, so you can't play Breach, so that sucks. But it has Culling Ritual, so Culling Ritual is good. And then at number 10, I have Karakushima. I think this deck puts out enough results to belong in the top 10. I think it's difficult to interact with, especially if you don't know what's going on, don't know when to interact with it, or you've just taking a line you've never seen before. It'll beat you if you're not prepared. I think it's made enough as well to belong on this list here. And it's definitely a deck that also makes me shift my mulligan strategy, which is I can't say that for every deck. So yeah.
No, that's a solid top 10. And Mac, you agree with this?
Yeah, we've worked on that list together. I think my order might be different for like a couple of them, but the general sentiment's all there, and the top 5 is exactly the same in that.
Okay.
Order.
I agree a lot with it. I'm glad Kark was on there. I think for whatever stigma that deck has on it, I think is a great deck, is a good tournament deck. Especially, do not play the deck if you do not understand how it works. Because all you're going to do is cause a bunch of headaches for other people.
Also, please be good at stack management. Have your tokens. Yes. Like all the people I know who play a lot of Krark, they all have a million tokens. They have trigger tokens. They have mana tokens. They have copy tokens. So like you're not just seeing a Sakashima. It's like they all have like 10 copies of Krark. Like if you're going to play the deck, commit. Like the deck's
I
really
mean,
cool, it's a
I
lot of
agree.
fun, but please make sure that you can keep this deck obvious because when it gets confusing, everyone just gets angry. Like
Yeah,
it's not, people get angry. It's a bad time, and this is why this deck has a bit of a stigma because people aren't able to track it well. And part of that is on inexperienced pilots. Part of that's also on people just not knowing how the deck functions. So make it easier for everyone, and make sure you track everything as best as you can, and have more than enough tokens. Because
yeah. Like
in the things.
Magic players already have a tendency to not like storm decks or decks that take a lot of time trying to win the game. So you already like gain hatred from that. But just please, if you're gonna commit to the deck, commit fully. Whoever makes these super cool tokens that you see Ken play with, order those, order whatever you need to order, but just make sure you have visible tokens so people can see how you're representing the board. This, the board said, that's Mikey said. It makes the game more enjoyable. You can see what is happening, and that's all I have to say about Karasakashima. Sad to see Team Seals not up there anymore. I do agree that it has fallen from its mighty days of Flash, but
Hey, that's the format. This list could change as soon as next year, even. I
that
think
is true.
this list is like what you'll see generally in top 16s. I think it's I think a lot of players focusing on top four or what won. Don't think that's correct if you want to be playing CEDH tournament, CEDH, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. You need to look at the top 16 landscape, see what's getting there consistently and why, and then you'll be able to also top these events.
All right, so my we're kind of coming to the end of it is should you play the best deck or the deck that you're most comfortable with, meaning the deck you have the most reps with, the deck you believe us EDH player like to say we have a connection with the deck. You've put time, effort, all of the things. You play your pet cards and you feel like this deck is viable. What should you do if we're talking about playing it at a tournament scene? Should you
Well,
pick up the best deck, or like is reps important on the deck? Is my pretty much my question.
I think this is a dangerous question, Shawnee.
Okay,
But I'm going to give the most nuanced answer I can give because, we're hosting these events out here. I'm not going to
correct.
exactly just tell people, yeah, you need to play this because, everyone's reason for playing a tournament, which is something that I struggled with a lot, was I couldn't understand why other people wanted to play tournaments for different reasons than me. People have different reasons for playing tournaments. Some people want to play the deck that they like. Some people want to see how far they can bring their personal brew forward. Um, some people are like, I'm here to win it, so I'm gonna play the best deck that I see, that like the most meta deck possible. So that really depends on like what deck you want to be bringing. Me personally, I like to try to win events. It's been a while though, but at least I get some tops. Uh, I would personally just bring one of the top five decks that I listed there on my list. I'd bring like a Nagila or a Rogsaz, Blue Farm, or Winota. Just bring one of those decks and try to win if you're trying to really win the tournament. But I mean, obviously, you can get to top 16 with Sweet Brews. I saw an Ivy list this past weekend at the Mox Master. That's
Yeah,
sick. Like, congrats to that person for bringing that list there. I hope they accomplished what they wanted to with it.
Mikey.
Um, I'm with Zane. Like, I know as much as like preach about how I think Grixis is the best and everything. Ultimately, like I said, I hate all these acronyms for CEDH, TEH, etc. Just play what you want to play. Play what you have fun with. It just happens to be that I also have fun with like Grixis stuff. I think if you are going to the tournament with the mentality to win, I think you should have a reality check and find a deck that is really well suited right now or really strong and really try to win it. But if you're just trying to have fun and you want to show off a deck, you do you. Have fun with it. Play whatever sparks joy. I'm not here to tell you what to play. I can give my recommendations, but it's just up to each player at the end of the day. And we've seen time and time again rogue decks are able to do well. And we even see this in Modern, Legacy, etc. Not so that the decks are rogue, but Amulet Titan I think is a perfect example of this, where the deck is consistently good, but it's not rare. It's rarely like the best deck.
Right.
However, if you go to an event and people aren't ready for it and their sideboards don't have it, Titan just spikes the event easy peasy. And you can see that too with like Dredge and other formats, where if people aren't excited for Dredge, you just die to Dredge, even though the deck isn't particularly powerful at the moment on its own
So
compared to other
so
things.
my question is for the people who normally spike events with those decks. You would call those people normally the expert of the deck, right? This is the deck they've been playing since Amulet Titan has been, you know, conceived or whatever word you want to use there. So if it's reps important, like there was a thing when I started EDH, where you should play 100 games on one deck. Are you
No.
play 50 games
No,
on one deck? Like you
no.
should master the deck. You're not a believer.
No.
I just think people overinflate the testing process. Like,
Okay.
I don't think you need 100 games, 1,000 games to know a deck. I think if you play a deck for 5 to 10 games, you got it. Like, obviously, there's some nuance here and there. You might not be as good at some things versus other things, but I think 5 to 10 games will tell you: is this a deck I like? Is this a deck that I'm good at? Does it fit my playstyle? After that, you don't like. I see so many people that just make themselves miserable. They're like, "Oh, I need to play this deck 100 times to see
Yeah.
what's good about it," and I refuse to change a single card in those 100 games. I'm just like, you're clearly not having fun. You're only on game like 11. Maybe switch lists, and it's like, no, I have to. Like, otherwise, I don't know the deck, and it's like, no, like you clearly are. You've done the thing. Like, even in my testing process, when I was like helping Zane, Drake, and other people in my play group get ready for tournaments, it doesn't take us 50 games to figure out if we like certain cards. We play it, and in 5 games, if the card was irrelevant or like it just proved to be not great, we cut it. Like, you don't need people overinflate the need for data. Like, you don't need to be playing these 100 games, these 1,000 games. Like, you can figure this out in a much
Yeah,
more
the
efficient.
average player isn't good enough to interpret the data, anyways. It's like not worth it. Um,
Whew, whew.
I think one more addendum to what you want to bring to a tournament. I mean, if you think you're good enough to make an anti-meta list, or you think you have the meta figured out and a way to counter it, you should, and you want to do that, you can bring that deck too. I think the Tippet list was a pretty good example of that. Just make sure whatever you're playing, you're getting what you want out of the tournament, out of the game, and whatnot. When I don't want to play Magic anymore, I just don't play Magic anymore. But I like tournaments. I like EDH for the most part. I like winning, so that I play things that let me do that the best that I think it will let me. So
I don't know. I think I came into that old school habit of the 100 games is a little much, but playing 50 games on a deck, I think the deck you have the most reps with and the deck you're most comfortable with, you'll do the best at. And I I I'm a believer on that, but recently I've been just saying play good cardboard and the good cardboard will carry you there. And that's also true. So I don't know where I stand anymore. Um
I've
I was a
infected
big
you with the play
a little
good
bit of
cards.
identity crisis, I see.
yeah, but yeah, a little bit of identity crisis. I was a big believer that,
Just let it
blue is a
go,
crutch.
Shawnee. Just let it
No, blue
go.
is a. I was a big guy that said blue. Blue is a crutch. Blue is for bad players that need to have their counter spells to help them win games or whatever weird reasons I had. And playing Science Blue is how you got better. And I still believe that. I think playing Science Blue, if you want to become a better player, it teaches you to pay attention to the game, pick your points because you don't have your blue crush spells to help you win. Um, but here I am with the identity crisis and play good cards, guys. I don't know where I'm at anymore. I'm at the crossroads, and one day we'll choose a side.
Here,
One day,
Shawnee.
maybe I.
I can
Hmm?
help you. You should play cards that remind you of why you first started playing competitive EDH.
Yeah, that's just
There you go.
Corvo and get wrong. That
Yeah,
that's
play
that's
play
that's what
Corvo.
my heart says. And
Yeah, do it.
then I play in my play group, and then they said, "Okay, I
We'll
don't
wheel you
care
six
about
times.
will you 6 times," and they're like, "Oh, hey, you're not in blue. I don't care what you're doing." And I'm like, well, and then they're like, "Oh, you're better with blue cards." I'm like, "Okay, you caught me down, you destroy my ego, and then you rebuild it with blue cards." Not a fan of it, but this is what is currently happening. And also, if you just want to be better, get a play group. If you're serious with playing in tournaments, trying to win tournaments, get people of the same mindset. Iron sharpens iron. Um,
Oh yeah,
be
Personal test groups
Don't.
are amazing.
Yes,
Mhm.
they're amazing. I think
And
that
you
was
all
a
know that
big
we're all on the
thing.
same page
I
too.
think
So
even the cash card unlimited winner, the one who won the Black Lotus, I mean that there was like a group of 10 people in Vegas who just brute tested against each other and whatnot. Get a test group. It's so good.
That I believe that's one of the things. It's very big in 60 card formats. I know when I played Legacy in my local scene, we used to like before SCG events, we'd have a month of just testing the top tier decks. Have a gauntlet where you just go through all the list. And I think that's what um, EDH missed. At least when I started, you have your own personal play group, but to let people to help them to get better as a unit it's a great feeling. I've been experiencing it recently with helping people get the the best 98 or 99 card you can go when you have different minds on one list. So find people you share the same passion with for whatever commander, whatever thing is, and just get a group of people and just go through it. You guys will go to tournaments and you'll celebrate the win as a team. I
that's
think
my
that's
favorite
cool.
part. Like
Yeah,
I haven't played in a single commander event ever, but each time that there is a commander event, I'm getting super hyped because like Zane competes a lot. Our friend Gustav competes a lot, who made the top four playing with power. There's a bunch of people that we play with and are friends with. You know, I might not be in the games telling them what to do, but it's like we're all part of a testing group. Like we are constantly tweaking lists with each other. We're constantly playing games with each other, trying to see what are the weaknesses. How do I play X matchup? So when you go as like a unit or just have people who are all testing with you, it's just awesome because then they go to a tournament. Even if you scrub out or something, you still see three of your friends in top 16, and like that's awesome.
yeah.
It's just a really satisfying feeling because you can't win them all, but it's nice that there's always a silver lining there. Then it's like, oh, I didn't do well, but you know, Gustav and Ian did
You
really
did
well.
well.
They're
Yeah.
part of our play group, so like that's dope.
Well, you might want to self reflect sometimes, and maybe you're just saying I'm a bad player, and that's just a skill issue, and that's okay.
Yeah, that
One
happens.
day,
I'm
yeah, that
losing left and
happens.
right. I haven't won a game in 2 weeks now.
Oh wow, what a scrub.
I
Yeah.
Um,
mean, Mikey's just bad, so
yeah,
do
I
not
just won
listen to
last night.
Mikey's
What are you
I'm
doing?
becoming a full-time TO.
oh my goodness, whatever. Um, any All right, so cool. We're about to wrap up. Any closing thoughts, guys?
Just
Yeah.
Plugs.
Yeah,
Go for it.
I'll go for it. Yeah, I mean, if you think you have a good deck you want to prove is just like one of the best, it should be up there. You think you're a good player, you want to show something off in EDH, or you want to get better. We're holding these events out here. We're holding four or five in person events next year. We have the online events coming up as well. Uh, it's out there. Come, prove your mettle, prove your worth, whatever you want to call it. Let's see these. Let's see how diverse the meta could be. Let's see what you can bring to the table. Very excited to see what you as a player listening to this can do in tournament EDH, as I think they call it.
Oh my goodness, Mikey.
yeah, just ultimately, we're trying to have these events to help the community out. Whether you just want a space to play games and have like a bunch of people around, and you just want to have the more friendly social aspect, go for it. If you have that competitive edge and you want to prove yourself, also go for it. Also, as Drake and I always say on our podcast, The Miscast, if you disagree with what we say, we're always down to play games. And, if you think that we're talking out of our asses and think it's nonsense, let's play some games together and we can see what goes on. I'm not
Bring it
saying, like,
on.
Zane and I always relish a challenge. So, if you ever come to these events and you want to play against us and see why we see like our Nagila list or things like that, just go for it. Also, stay tuned for Command Tower public release. It'll happen probably mid-November, and hopefully, if you have a shop that's been talking about running Commander events but doesn't know how to do it, get them in touch with us. They can try out the software, and then maybe you can start to have a weekly CDH event at your own local LGS. That's ultimately the goal of Eminence. We're not trying to put a monopoly on anything. We want to run good events, and we want to make sure that there's just a plethora of them for everyone to enjoy and help bring up the community together. We're big fans of Rising Tide raises all ships, so we do a lot of stuff to help out with chaos and things like that. And we're just trying to help the community and have events be as accessible as possible, and that's our whole goal.
All right. Well, once again, a big thanks to our sponsors, TC Rockets. Make sure you give us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast aggregator. You'll be surprised how much it helps. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and more. All links are in the episode notes. Well, that's about wrap up this episode of the podcast. Tune in next time when we talk about our favorite format in our favorite game, Magic the Gathering. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.